Now at 5, the USDA announces millions of dollars in grants for several Kansas communities, including some in southeast Kansas. Plus, our horticulture expert gives tips on getting rid of an invasive species of beetle impacting the 4 states. And the president's doctors give an update on his condition since being diagnosed with COVID-19.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A 19-year-old is charged in a crash earlier this month that killed another 19-year-old. This is KOAM News at 5. Authorities say Joseph Hill of Carthage was driving while intoxicated when the vehicle overturned near Grand Falls in Joplin. In that crash, 2 people were injured and Keenan Reed of Carthage was killed. Hill is charged with felony DWI, death of another, second-degree felony assault, and driving with a suspended or revoked license. Some Southeast Kansas community projects got extra funding courtesy of the USDA. One of those is the Healthy Bourbon County Action Team. They received a grant of more than $200,000. That money will go toward different projects, including helping to start low-income or minority businesses and other financial and equity projects within those groups.
Oh, it makes me feel awesome. I love being able to create opportunities for my peers. I mean, this is a small town, so I know a lot of people here, and so be able to reach back and help some of my friends and peers up and just realize their dreams, you know. So it's like my dream to help them achieve their dreams.
Tonight at 6, we're going to have more on what this grant money means to that team. Let's check in with Doug Hetty now for our first look at the weather.
Well, definitely turned out to be another hot one for us today. Hot all weekend long. Heat advisories in effect again in parts of Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, and an excessive heat warning in northeastern Oklahoma. And these will last until 8 p.m. and then reissue once again as we go into the morning hours for us tomorrow. Some isolated thunderstorms in our very far northern counties. Most of these are going to stay to our north. They're going to stay up kind of near Kansas City and then push into central parts of Missouri, but at least our far northern counties at least getting a little bit of rain. But look at the temps. 100 in Carthage, 100 in Neosho, 100 in Miami. Parsons is all sitting at about 100 degrees. Heat indices up there as well. It feels like 103 to about 105 across the region. We'll drop back through the triple digits, 90s, 80s, near 80 later on tonight. We do have some relief in sight. We're going to look at that here in just a bit.
The event. More 4-state residents are noticing the impact of Japanese beetles this summer. Weather has caused them to emerge later than usual, and now gardeners are experiencing them in addition to this ongoing drought, making these pests more prevalent. The beetles emerge from the soil as an adult with a lifespan of 30 to 45 days. They do most of their feeding somewhere between June and September, depending on when they emerge. Large populations of beetles will move around a shrub and consume the plant tissue and make skeletonized leaves. The most effective way to get rid of these bugs are contact pesticides.
It is estimated to be, if not the most destructive, then the second most destructive horticultural pest in the country.
We contacted a local business owner on how the Japanese beetles have impacted her business. You can read more on KOAMnewsnow.com. Luxury for half the price and half the size. Abby Nelson, a founder of a company called Micro Mansions, is building modern micro houses for people who want to have space but still have a newer, durable, energy-efficient home. The company is currently building the first kit version home in Columbus, Kansas, and will use it for an Airbnb later. The owner says the idea arose when she could not find a small enough home for herself.
I couldn't find anything that I wanted. Everything was too big. And so I started designing my own house to put on a piece of land. And they were more of these smaller footprint, kind of modern homes. And I had a lot of interest from other people to have a similar house.
The crew hopes to build the kits in 4 to 6 weeks. President Biden's doctor says his symptoms have almost completely resolved and he continues to tolerate treatment well. Nearly a week after his COVID-19 diagnosis, the president continues to isolate and work virtually. But during a meeting with business leaders today, he said he hopes to resume working in person by the end of this week. Reporter Deborah Alfarone has more on the president's condition from the White House.
President Biden tweeted this picture of himself taking phone calls from a White House balcony, joined by first pup Commander. This is day 4 of his isolation since testing positive for COVID-19.
Hi, Mr. President.
The president also attended 2 virtual events, including a meeting with CEOs and labor leaders.
I'm feeling great. No, I've had 2 full nights of sleep all the way through. Matter of fact, my dog had to wake me up this morning.
In his most recent letter, the president's physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, said his symptoms have almost completely resolved, with some nasal congestion and minimal hoarseness. He also adds that the president's vital signs are normal and his lungs are clear with no shortness of breath. Administration officials say President Biden contracted the highly contagious BA.5 subvariant. His physician said the president is conscientious of trying to protect White House staffers and Secret Service agents whose jobs actually require them to be near him.
Well, I hope I'm back to work in person by the end of this week. But as you know, I've been keeping a full schedule.
Federal health officials say the BA.5 subvariant has helped drive the recent uptick in COVID-19 cases. Several major U.S. cities, like Los Angeles, are once again considering whether or not to reinstate indoor mask mandates as soon as this week. In the meantime, the CDC continues to recommend all Americans who live in areas of high transmission to mask up indoors, particularly around crowds. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
President Biden is wrapping up a 5-day course of the antiviral drug Paxlovid and taking a low dose of aspirin as an alternative blood thinner. White House officials say they'll continue to give updates on the president's condition and his treatment plan. In Canada today, Pope Francis delivered a historic apology for the Catholic Church's treatment of Indigenous people. From the late 1800s to the 1990s, more than 150,000 Native children were forcibly taken from their families to attend Canada's residential Christian schools, most of them run by the Catholics. The Canadian government has admitted that physical and sexual abuse were rampant in the schools. The government believes thousands of the children never made it home. Still ahead, how climate change might impact your grocery list.
Your favorite ice cream flavors could be on the endangered list. I'm Elise Preston with a look at how climate change could impact some popular ice cream ingredients.
And next in Health Watch, an alert from the CDC about a virus that could cause life-threatening disease in babies. Topping today's Health Watch, officials continue to struggle with how to contain the monkeypox outbreak that's spreading all around the world. The World Health Organization now says monkeypox is a public health emergency of international concern. The U.S. has seen a 10-fold increase in cases over the past month, but health officials here say they are not declaring it an emergency quite yet. The CDC is alerting doctors and public health departments after multiple states have reported cases of a type of virus that can cause life-threatening disease in infants and babies. Aaron Edwards has the story of 2 Connecticut parents who lost their child and want to help other families.
There is no website.
The Delanceys welcomed their second child, Ronan, in May. About a week later, something wasn't right.
He was fussier, he wasn't eating quite as well, and he had some redness on his chest.
They took him to the pediatrician who sent them home. That night, they went to the emergency room.
As soon as I walked into the hospital, he stopped breathing.
Then Ronan started having seizures. The family says doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. 4 days later, he was diagnosed with parechovirus.
It's extremely rare to find, but it might not be that rare because they don't ever really look for it.
Parechoviruses are common in children and typically cause mild cold-like symptoms. But infants under 3 months may have serious, possibly fatal infections, according to the CDC. Ronan had severe swelling and tissue damage in his brain.
Going from like the best days of our lives to, having our child die in our arms.
The CDC recently issued this alert, with doctors in multiple states reporting cases in infants.
It can look like the child has what we call sepsis, which is a very severe infection, and it can also be associated with meningitis, which is basically an inflammation of the lining that surrounds the brain.
The CDC encourages doctors to look for the virus in babies presenting with those symptoms. There is no antiviral treatment. Patients receive supportive care.
rehydration, putting them on medication to suppress seizures, and giving them other forms of supportive measures that can help them while their body clears the virus.
I want Ronan to have a legacy. I don't want another family to go through this.
Ronan's parents hope sharing their story will lead to more testing for this virus. Erin Edwards, CBS News, Hampton, Connecticut.
Preventing paracovirus is like any other virus. Doctors say it's critical to practice good hand hygiene and stay away from anyone who's not feeling well. They also recommend limiting the number of visitors for newborns. About 6% of children treated for COVID in emergency rooms battle long COVID symptoms months after their diagnosis. That's according to a study published in JAMA. Researchers say children who were hospitalized with severe symptoms were at greater risk of developing long-term complications, including fatigue, cough, and difficulty breathing. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, what the U.S. Treasury Secretary says about the possibility of a recession.
Plus, the heat is sticking around, but we do have some changes ahead. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, another hot one for us today. Temperatures well above 100 degrees. Once again, we've done it several days in a row now. Nice shot. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. Of course, Indigo is just outside of Seneca, Missouri. So heat advisories stay in effect. Parts of Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, excessive heat warning in Oklahoma for the next couple hours. Then these will expire, and then again, we'll see them reissued once again as we head into the daytime hours for us tomorrow. Check this out. So we've had 23 of 25 days this month above average. Look at the stretch of triple digit heat. We can go back to last Sunday, and then we had 96, and then all above 100 through the weekend, and then once again for us today. So this is our 15th day this summer that we've had temperatures at or above 100 degrees 14 times just this month alone. Look outside, 97 in Pitt, 102 in Chautauqua, 102 in Jay. We can head over near Monette, sitting at about 99 degrees. Humidity a little bit higher, but still not awful. Dew points mainly into the mid 60s, kind of puts us in that little sticky range across the region. 7th and range line currently sitting at 101. Southerly winds 10 to 15. Humidity at 29%. Through the evening hours, slip back through the 90s, only to about 80 later on tonight. So it is going to stay fairly warm across the region. Not a whole bunch going on here. You can see a few scattered little guys in our far northern counties. This will not affect most of us. This is going to stay mainly north of Fort Scott and Nevada as this cluster kind of pushes east across north central parts of Missouri. But it's these waves which are going to get a little bit closer to us by the time we head through the week. So that will actually give us a little bit of relief. We have a front kind of playing havoc in our northern counties, so it's going to sit there tomorrow morning. Slight chance for a shower or two if you live in our far northern counties. Most of you end up staying dry. As we go into the afternoon, we heat up again. There is a slight chance for a few scattered thunderstorms, mainly in our northern counties, Pittsburgh, Parsons, northward, Fort Scott, Nevada, and mainly north of Lamar. Everybody else, hot, kind of humid. 98 by noon. We're going to go all the way up to 106 for a high for us tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow night, some scattered thunderstorms again in our northern counties, but these will try to push a little bit farther south by Wednesday morning. So at least some scattered showers through the region. Then again, we heat up right around 100 degrees by the time we head into Wednesday afternoon. But it does get better. This front sinks in and actually sinks through on Thursday, giving us scattered showers and thunderstorms by Friday, chances for showers and thunderstorms by Saturday. So hopefully we can get some relief here. We're definitely going to get it from the heat. 106 tomorrow, 101 on Wednesday, 87 Thursday, 83 Friday, 83 Saturday, high temp of 88 on Sunday. So that's a much nicer stretch.
High of 83, that's 20 degrees lower.
Yeah, it's going to feel pretty good if we can squeak out some rain too.
That would be a bonus. Thanks, Doug. Coming up, how climate change could limit your ice cream options. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Bruce Salzman served in the U.S. Air Force in 1953 and 1954. The Neosho, Missouri Navy was stationed in Korea, and we salute Staff Sergeant Bruce Salzman, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says while the U.S. economy has slowed, she does not believe a recession is already underway. Yellen cited low unemployment and strong consumer spending as two reasons for her optimism. She also said a period of slower growth may be necessary to curb inflation. Several reports will be released this week that'll shed some light on just how big of a hit the economy has taken, from new home sales to consumer confidence to income and spending. Gas prices continue to decline as demand remains soft around the U.S. According to AAA, the national average ended the weekend just below $4.37 a gallon. That's 56 cents less than it was a month ago. However, the price is $1.21 higher than it was this time last year. Around the world, climate change has brought higher temperatures, extreme weather events, and melting ice caps. Well, soon climate change is going to show up in your freezer. Popular ice cream flavors are now endangered. The raw ingredients harder to grow in a hotter world. Reporter Elise Preston traveled to Vermont to get the full scoop.
It's chocolate chip cookie dough day inside the factory where Ben & Jerry's makes its ice cream. Bite-sized chunks of frozen cookie dough get added, followed by chocolate chips. But climate change is threatening this popular ice cream pint and many others.
All of these flavors in the cup are endangered.
They are, because they've all got cocoa, coffee, vanilla, nuts. All of these ingredients are actually now under threat.
Cheryl Pinto is known as the sorceress at Ben & Jerry's because she sources all the raw ingredients. She says sustainable chocolate is getting harder to find. 60% of the world's chocolate comes from West Africa, where poor farmers are facing the effects of deforestation.
80–90% of the trees are gone. When you start removing the forest, you actually impact the regional weather patterns.
Researchers forecast 90% of the area in the region currently used for cocoa cultivation won't be able to grow the crop by 2050. And the type of coffee being used in 70% of worldwide coffee production can't tolerate temperatures over 73 degrees.
Unfortunately, where we grow coffee, which is more towards the equator, those areas are getting affected the most by climate change.
Plant scientist Dr. Alan Van Dyne says farmers will need to adopt new species of endangered crops.
I'm an optimist. We're finding varieties that can take the heat a little better, and some crops are going to thrive more than others.
But Van Dynes and Pinto agree. New varieties will taste different and cost more to grow.
What we have to do, though, is be very aware of where our food is coming and how do we support those farmers.
She says in this warmer world, consumers should demand their cold treats are sourced well. Elise Preston, CBS News, Waterbury, Vermont.
With water in such limited supply in California, Ben & Jerry's is now considering growing almonds in Idaho. The final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, the latest on a wildfire burning near Yosemite National Park. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have more on how local community projects will benefit from USDA grants. Plus, a mural is completed in Neosho, Missouri Park, and a Girard, Kansas resident writes a book about a longtime high school football coach and mentor. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Hey, some good news from the Oklahoma City Zoo. Look at that. Rare Sumatran tiger twins born on July 2nd had their first official checkup by the zoo's veterinarian, and the zoo's vet gave the cubs a clean bill of health. We now know also that they are a matched set, a boy and a girl. Sumatran tigers are critically endangered, with only 500 left living in the forests of their native Indonesia. The cubs will be kept out of public view until they are old enough to be vaccinated. Those are some pretty cute critters, Douglas.
Yes, they are.
It's hot out there, but hey, there is a light at the end of this tunnel.
There is. We still have to deal with triple-digit heat once again for a couple more days, and it's going to be up there 106 tomorrow, 101 on Wednesday, but some scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially once we get to Thursday into Friday, and 80s for highs.
Wow. Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.